Alright, so this little beauty right here is an '07 Honda Odyssey. This is our donor vehicle. This is where we're going to get our powertrain for that little VW sitting in the garage. Everything works. It runs fine. Tranny works. Everything's great. I think near 50,000 miles on it. But we're going to take everything out of it. So we've got this beautiful 3.5 liter VTEC V6 in there. We've got the transmission. We're going to take the struts and all the suspension and the brakes. We're going to pull that whole thing right down on its cradle, take it all out as one big chunk, and install it in the back of our VW. Yep, that's our psychotic idea. We'll see how it all turns out. I got some pictures of a gent who'd done it once before, so I know it's doable. This is our 2007 Honda Odyssey. As you can hear, it's purring away like a little kitten. This thing runs just great, but it's been beat to holy hell. We raised our 3 kids from birth on in this little beast. She's sitting there with 153,000 miles and nothing but a flat tire warning and an empty gas tank. Otherwise, no lights. Tranny and everything work great. Drives fabulously. Air conditioner's fried. Both back mechanical doors, or I should say automatic doors don't work, so they're mechanical doors at this point. So we just gave up on that one and got us a different one. But as you can tell, this one's running well. So this is our donor. We're going to be taking pretty much, well, from the ignition here all the way forward. We're taking the entire drivetrain out of this thing. I'm going to pull the motor, the tranny, all the electronics that I can muster off of it. Its front suspension, the whole works. So, probably put in some pictures of the inspiration. I had this idea once upon a time that you could take a front wheel drive vehicle, strip its whole drive gear section and everything out, from its struts all the way down. Everything, axles, tranny, motor, the whole thing, and pull that out and slide it right in the back end of the Dune Buggy over there. And have the front end be the back end. So that's my crazy wild idea. If you hadn't heard that along the way of this project. Yep. That's what we're going to do. We're going to Franken-buggy it. It's going to become a Vonda? A Honda W? I'm not sure. I think a Vonda sounds kind of funny. But either way, this should be a wild and crazy experience. Hope you guys enjoy coming along for the ride.
It's like a family tree.
So we've reached a momentous stage. This is all up to a point where we're ready to start putting in our new powertrain. We've cleared everything out. We've cleaned up and refurbished the entire front end, the fiberglass, the cage, the pan. We've just stripped out the rear transaxle recently, and we're going to give the yoke back here in the rear end a good scrubbing down. I'm not sure where we're going on alterations or additions to that, so we're not going to go crazy cleaning it and repairing it, refurbishing it. It's nothing to repair, it's not broken. And then started to prep the donor for extraction. We've already removed the air cleaner box, battery stand, disconnected those cables and pulled them back, and we're trying to start mapping out what needs to be taken and what can be left behind, how things are going to be altered. So we've got a tranny cooler, hoses down there, come to the front here with this radiator, little mini radiator for the tranny here. And the regular radiator needs to come, that's overflow tank. So we're going to have to redo those radiator hoses and tranny cooler hoses, extended versions of them or something. The AC and heater system, the AC, we're going to pull it, get rid of it. Same thing with the power steering, it's going to go away, so we won't be using it. Where the heater lines run, we're more than likely going to just pull them both off and then grab a piece of hose like maybe that one right there and have it just go out and in. Just make a U of hose and plug it up. Let it pump water out and pump water back in and not have to remove a bunch of extra things, at least initially. I think my biggest concern in this whole job is the electrical that goes along with this, and pulling everything that really needs to go out of here to make this run and the tranny shift. Could be interesting figuring out how all that works. But we'll do it. And then we'll figure out how we can redo it. It's going to be kind of crazy. I'm a little apprehensive, I don't deny it. Alright, we're going to remove the front headlights. So, we've got a bolt here. We've got a bolt on this bracket down here. And a set of bolts on this bracket right down here. Woo! Love that upside down stuff. Anyway, so we're going to pull that light off and take it out. And we're going to come over here and do the same thing on this side. So let's get to it. So right here you see the air conditioning compressor. This was one of my big contemplative problems with this situation. I don't have a Freon evacuation kit to be able to yank all the Freon out of the air conditioning system. And if I'm dropping the motor, part of that is typically to remove air conditioning hoses. But that would mean releasing Freon, and that's a no-go. We can't be popping hoses and dumping Freon into the environment because it's both bad for me and bad for the environment. So what I went ahead and did was left all the AC connections still tied up. I released the serpentine belt and pulled it out of the way, pulled the radiator out, got it out of the way, and then came right through the front and then did the 1, 2, 3, 4 bolts that go right through there and pulled Mr. Compressor right off, still attached. And we got it yanked forward and tied to the front bumper to be out of the way so we can drop this motor straight out the bottom. So, doable. See how it goes once we're ready to drop this thing. Here in our next bit, we're going to be undoing a few things. This large cradle that sits underneath the motor and tranny holds up your control arms. Has a bolt here and a bolt here to be removed. And then if we slide, shift my big fatness down here underneath this thing, there's another bolt there and another one. Not sure if I can put it right there in the middle. That one's got to go. And we got the exact same things on the opposite side, way over there in front, and just beyond the exhaust over there. So those 8. And then we also have those 3 or 4, I believe, right there on the exhaust to break loose, so that we can take that piece from there all the way up here through the flex out with the motor when we drop it. I believe at the moment that is the last bit of stuff to remove.
Thank you.
And we can lower this out. Alright, so real quick, put together this little platform here. This is the bottom of it. We're going to slide this underneath the van, and these 2 rails that are at an angle here on top of it are set to sit right underneath the cradle. We can slide our jack underneath the middle of this, lift it up to meet up at the bottom of the motor, disconnect all the bolts, and then lower our jack down until it sits on this platform on the ground. Get our jack out from under it, and the motor is in place. We can then lift the van up over the motor and roll it backwards out of the way. That's our plan anyway. Probably completely psychotic, but hey, we're going for it anyway. Shoestring fabrications on a shoestring budget. So to be expedient and not waste a bunch of time, we just hacked the exhaust in half with a Sawzall. And now that whole front section from there all the way up will come right out tied in with the cradle. And that saves us having to try and break all of those frozen up exhaust bolts that are locked in there. I tried on 2 of them on the other side and wouldn't move at all. So slicey dicey, and we're done. Well, I hate to say it, but I didn't kick the camera on when I dropped it. But a little play between the hoist lowering it and the jack lowering it, and everything has broken free beautifully. Both front points are opened up. Peek down in through there, see that yellow piece hanging down? That's the steering knuckle there on top. And right behind it in the back is the rear lower cradle mount. And if we peek way down in there, you can see the other rear mount. Everything's dropped off loose. We're disconnected everywhere. Gas is disconnected. All the electrical is disconnected. This thing is no longer attached. Now comes the grand fun. I'm gonna jack it up just a little bit more. Get another piece of 2x4 underneath there so I can get my jack free, and then we'll get that wooden platform all the way down onto the ground nice and flat, so we can go to the next exciting part, which is figuring out how to lift this whole front end of this van way up in the air and roll it backwards about 4 or 5 feet and set it back down so that this motor and cradle are out and free of it. This time I'm going to really try hard not to forget to set up the time-lapse camera. Doofus. And there you have it, friends. It is gone. It is out. It can be done single-handed. If not a little redneck, some blocks and an old oak log, one single floor jack, whole lot of time and patience. And that son of a... Yep, that thing came right out. All right. Now we've got what will go in there. Woohoo!